Bennett phoned you up. You weren't feeling very well at the time.
No, I had the flu. It was awful allergic.
And you very kindly, even though you weren't feeling well, phoned up John Leeson and asked him to come as a favour to replace Michael Craig. And we were very grateful because, quite frankly, without that, we never would have been able to hold the event.
I'm glad I was able to help. John enjoyed it very much, and he was free, and he was delighted to come.
So thank you for that.
That's right, because you couldn't get hold of him, could you?
We tried to get hold of Courtney, and his answer phone's on our phones. It's very nice of you, because you weren't feeling very well.
It's all right, it's terrible when you just have one person, because if something happens and that person can't come, you really in number.
Indeed. I'd like to give some people a little background to your life. You were born in Liverpool. Are you okay?
I did swallow that fly.
Do you want some water?
Can I? Oh dear. Cheers. I don't know if it's any better than coffee, but thanks, that's it. You talk for a bit.
You were born in Liverpool, but you first of all didn't want to become an actress. You wanted to become a dancer originally.
Yeah. Well, I went to a dancing school, a local one in Liverpool. I actually didn't realise how good it was until latterly. I saw my daughter's dancing class. Anyway.
And then you were playing a furry animal for the Royal Ballet, and decided this wasn't really for you. So you decided to concentrate then on acting.
I never really wanted to do. You see, isn't it terrible? I think most actors will say they just take reality. They just want to pretend. It's rather lacking, isn't it, in people? I don't know. I was just always terribly good at pretending, and so I suppose I put that into the dancing first of all. I still get the biggest high when I see ballet. I think it is so beautiful. I think it is so clever. They are so dedicated in a way that actors aren't. I mean, no actor I know does voice exercises every day. A ballet dancer, they have to do bar exercises every day. And I get such a high. I get really, that I don't get from when I watch actors. I get very bored sometimes when I watch actors because I think, well, I'd rather be doing it. I don't go to the theatre, I go to cinema. But I do, I still love watching ballet. When I first moved to London from Manchester where I was working, and I was out of work for a while, I met an actor and he said, well, Liz, you can do supering. So I said, well, what's supering? He said, well, you go along to the opera house, the Royal Ballet, and for £1 a night every time you turn up, they let you walk on if they need people in the background of the operas or the ballet, yeah? Very much in the back. You cannot believe this when you think that they allow any, well, not just anyone, but people to walk on and people that, you know, knew overnight. And I'm not actually built the way of opera singers. I wasn't ever asked to go in and walk, you know, on the Palisades for an opera. But I did walk on as a court lady in ballets. And I saw Nureyev and Fontaine when they were dancing Romeo and Juliet. Lynn Seymour. I mean, it was just wonderful. And I had this, I think I had an opera house dress, this great thing. They held it up with elastic. And you're on the scenery, it's massive, very, very high up. And you know, you talk about a Doctor Who set. I mean, they were princely by comparison. The gaps that you had to step over where the scenery was not joined together was like that. And you were higher. You weren't supposed to look down. Very sedate. So I did do I still sort of kept in touch with my person.
When you became assistant stage manager at Liverpool Playhouse.
Yes, it's the only way. I started as a student. I shouldn't have done, because if you've been to drama school, you're not meant to start as a student. The lowest is the assistant stage manager, but I was just so desperate to get in. And so I started on the counter.
Wasn't there a story where you met your husband playing corpse? Is that right?
Yeah. Well, by then I was assistant stage manager, which I'm sure you all know is you really are a dog's body. You do. You're allocated to either the panager of the sound, or you're on the prompt copy, or you do props and any small part, you know, going. And the small part going in Duramax, the physicists, was the body that's dead on stage before the curtain goes up. And it was very tiresome because this particular production, the director didn't want to have a curtain, which meant that as the audience were allowed into the auditorium, the set had to be as it was for half an hour.
A bit like here.
But I had to lie there, so I had to have all my props done beforehand. So that when everyone else was getting made up already, I was the dead body lying there in the nurse's uniform. So you're lying there for half an hour, and then you have to be discovered when, the play starts. And my husband now, Brian Miller, that wasn't my husband then, he was playing a doctor in it. Warren Clark was in it. You know Warren Clark from TSO, whatever it is in Glasgow. He's a terrible giggler with other companies. So both those came on together. Warren got his finger stuck in the bell. He was the head nurse. Oh, no. He got his finger stuck in the pretend bell. So he was trying to get that out, which I clocked out of one corner of my eye. Brian and the rest of the lot came over, and he had his speech and thing, and then when he was just meant to be covering the body up, he just got hold of my wrist, and he said, respiration, not for the audience, respiration nil, Aston Villa, 2. And my stomach just went. His dead body. And I got into terror. I used to get into awful trouble.
It must be very difficult to play dead. I mean, you think about it being distilled.
After a while, you think, I'm not breathing properly, but you can't sort of, or hopefully not. It's easy just to be dead, because you kind of don't breathe till all of a sudden you want to take this enormous gasp. It shows that on telly.
And then you married Brian Miller 3 years after that.
Was it?
Prox. Then you moved to London. That must have been quite a big move, actually, because if you...
There was a lot going on in between. We did Manchester for 3 years, Library Theatre, Farnham, Scarborough, Theatre in the Round, Alan Ayckbourn.
All up in the north?
Very much. I never had an agent. I never had an agent for 5 years. I just got my work all the time.
So you were just putting your CVs out to directors?
Well, it was mostly word of mouth then. You were like I suppose being up north then, and it was a long time ago, it's so changed now, you don't have the repertory theatres. I mean, I would be in a company of 30, 20 actors, it was wonderful. Now, you're lucky if you've got 3 actors keeping you company on stage, unless you're the National RIC.
But I'm curious, all your work was in sort of rep up north?
Yeah. And you used to go down to Granada to do, I think my first thing, I didn't have a very large part in one play at Manchester, so I did Patrick Wymark's daughter in something with John Wood. And then I did Coronation Street there, and then I would go over to do radio on a Sunday, Northern Drift, with Ayckbourn, Henry Livings, who sadly just died. So you got an awful lot of work. You just lived in this whole, moving around, and everyone sort of knew you and what you could do, and so it was very different.
It's interesting because John Leeson talked about repertory work, and he said that you learned your craft, you practiced your trade. And nowadays, an actress or actor can't really do that, because rep doesn't really exist as such, does it? It's sort of a thing of the past. But you learned how to do your trade properly. But coming to London from the north of England, it must have been quite a brave decision to make, I would think.
It didn't seem a brave decision at the time. It seemed the only thing to do, because Brian had moved down the play to the West End. So we just came down, and an agent who'd seen me up north, I don't know how he finally got in touch with me, and I didn't think to look around for another agent. I thought, oh yes, that's nice, yes, thank you very much. And I think the first thing he put me up for was actually a mistake. It was George Cole was doing the Philanthropist, Hampton, new play, Christopher Hampton, at the Mayfair Theatre, Nice Little Theatre. They'd chosen the main cast, and they wanted someone to play Liz and understudy the girl lead, which I did. And I was told after that I shouldn't have started with such a path. You don't think,
But your television debut was quite an auspicious TV series with Granada, wasn't it?
Was it?
Your TV debut was
Coronation
Street. What did you play in Coronation Street?
Well, I played Anita Reynolds, who was the barmaid of the Flying Horse, which was the other pub. I don't know if it's still there. And I trolled along, and I thought, there's no way I'm going to get this. I'm not built like a barmaid. You have a stereotype, but the Coronation was, and I think still is, fairly stereotyped, which is why I love it.
You've done a long, long time, hasn't it? It's a longest running soap, isn't it?
The guy who actually whose idea it was, he went to my drama school, and he still gets royalties, which is wonderful.
It's amazing how many people started off on Coronation Street. I mean, Joanna Lumley started off, and Arthur Lowe did. I think there's so many people.
Arthur Lowe was filming up there. Do you remember Mr. Swindley? He was in Coronation Street. That's right. He had just left, so actually I got the job, which was wonderful. And I was to partner. I was to be the new girlfriend. They were Peter Adamson.
Yes,
Peter
yes.
Adamson. And it was at a time when Pat Phoenix was just going out with Alan Browning. So there was this sort of foursome. Alan Browning as the character with Pat Phoenix. Me. And Peter Adamson. I thought, oh God, you know, talk about in frying pan.
Was that difficult? Because, I mean,
Yes.
being a first TV role, theatre is acting on a stage in theatre must be a different technique to being on TV.
Oh, it's
The camera's right up close to your face.
It's totally different. Yeah.
And also, Coronation Street.
It takes a different kind of energy as well. A different kind of energy. They were all terribly nice to me, but it was in the days where, oh dear, don't sit on that, that's our rich chair. They all had their own chair. It's not like that now. They were looked after like royalty. They're on much shorter contracts now, they're far more realistic. But they were. I mean, I couldn't believe this. Tea would be brought in like the Ritz, all the cakes and everything. You know, I thought we were meant to reverse them. But Peter Adamson was lovely. He had just come off the bottle, and he had actually joined Alcoholics Anonymous. And he said if you had met me 6 months ago, you would have hated me. And Bernardo were mad at him actually for publicising the fact that he had been an alcoholic. He said, no, he said, I'm going to help other people by doing this. He was a lovely man. He was so kind to me.
What a brave thing to do.
A very brave thing to do. I don't think Bernardo ever sort of really favoured him very much after that, I get the feeling. But it was, you know, I'd sort of been in a company where everyone was on the same level. It didn't matter if you had 2 lines one week and you were the lead the next. It was the hierarchy, there was none. You know, it's the greatest leveler of all, I think, the theatre. And all of a sudden I was in this current only for, I think it was 6 weeks or 6 episodes, whatever it was. And there was this incredible hierarchy. And you couldn't sit in this chair. And Pat Phoenix was getting most of the publicity. She hardly spoke to me. Very beady, keeping her eye on Alan Browning all the time.
Her favourite TV series was
beady.
Doctor Who, I think, in the 1970s, wasn't it?
All she ever said to me, it was in the days where you had these patent shoes that had come back into fashion, white patent, you know, the boots and the shoes. And I had these white patent shoes, I remember. She never called me Elisabeth Sladen. The only thing, I had these scenes with her. I had all these scenes with her. The only thing she ever said to me one day was, Anita, love, how do you keep your shoes so white? That was just not, that is
Leaving Coronation Street, he appeared in several other TV series in the 70s, Z-Cars, some others did have.
And Doomwatch.
And Doomwatch is very interesting because it was created by 2 people responsible for the silent movie, Kit Pedder and Jerry Davis. And also, like Doctor Who, a number of episodes were destroyed in the 70s, so there's a lot of similarities there. Do you know if the episodes you appeared in actually survived in this story?
Jeffrey Palmer was in mine, no I don't know, and Anthony Andrews. Anthony Andrews had the main lead. And then Hugh Ross, a guy I can't remember, and myself, we were the student faction. And I had just got my licence. I just moved from Manchester, passed my test, never driven. And I said I could drive because this girl had to drive a van with the, what was it in the back? This stuff that was going to blow up, was now quite would have blown up because the guy whose name I can't remember, he was so kind. I got into such a state with this. He said, look, you just put your foot on it. Look, he said, they won't see the camera. Tell me when you're going to do it, and I'll do the gear. And we had the cameraman in the back, I think his underwear changed colour. It's like, great! And they thought it was all acting, you know. And I was like that. It was terrible. It really was. But Hugh Ross, he's great fun. Great fun. I guess it was lovely to be in. And then I did, as the Americans said, I went to a convention with Elisabeth Sladen, and he said, well, you've never seen the Z-Cars. Oh, I said, I'm not surprised, I've been in it. No, Z-Cars. Because they were Z-Cars. I loved doing Z-Cars, I loved it. That was when I felt, that was when I felt I had more of a handle. I felt totally out of my depth on Coronation Street because there's all the extraneous things coming in and you're not actually focused on, and I don't think I was actually ideal casting. I don't know how I got the part, to be honest. But I felt I had it was a lovely character, my first Z-Car. She was a 16-year-old girl from Northumberland, who was very shy, and she was not street cred at all. And I didn't go for that part. I went up for a much smaller part, and I got the lead in it. I did not impress my agent. And Derek Martinez was directing. Evidently, I didn't know at the time, he's known as Deadly Martinez. news, because everyone who works with him comes out in a rash. Oh, God. But he was very, very good to me. And I just seemed to... I was able to work in a way I'd worked in the theatre on that. I was able to follow her through. And they said, well, Liz, you've got to have a Northumbrian accent for this. So I was sent to the video library. No, not the video library, the audio library, BBC. And the only person I could find with that kind of accent was an 80-year-old woman recounting her butter-making days. So I came back into rehearsal and I said, pardon, couldn't understand. It's very, it's like Scandinavian. It's very, it's like Geordie Scandinavian. It's a really strange accent. So I just had to be a bit northern.
Are you good at accents, though?
Not bad.
I mean, coming from the north of England, you must have both.
Well, I've got poor Liverpool for a start. I'm not that. I mean, there's some that I wouldn't say that were my best. But if I went there and stayed for a while, I could pick it up. It's all in the rhythm.
I was saying, when you go back to Liverpool, do you find yourself talking Liverpudlian? Is that in that sort of way?
Well, my daughter talks to her cousins on the phone. She's got in here. She slips into. I don't say to her because I don't want her to, you know, think that she's going to do anything like that. But I love that Z-cast for Derek Martinez. And I normally see in Z-cars, you're not allowed to come in it again. I suppose it's like the bill, till maybe 6 months or so later. But I got one much, much sooner through Julia Smith, who went on to do EastEnders, yeah? She was directing at the time. And George Galaccio, who was the pump, the money man on Dr. Who, he actually was her assistant. So I met George
really
early on, yeah. Julia was all clever. Wonderful director, but oh God, you never knew how she was going to come at you at rehearsal. She really went for me one day, and no one had done that before. And George goes, oh, no, she had a lot of pressure elsewhere, but you know, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that. You know, maybe I wasn't doing as well that day, but you know, there's another way to do it. But it really, you know, I stood back and looked at it. Now this woman, this girl, she was from Liverpool. She was a Liverpool scrubber. And she was, you know, beehive hair. Oh, I wish we had recording equipment in those days. And I used to pick holes in this stockings to make them more ladder and white the skirt out. And it was lovely. And because they were so different. So when they were looking for a Doctor Who girl, now I'm trying to think of the producer's name.
Barry Letts?
No. On Z-Cars.
Oh, does anyone know the producer was Z-Cars?
Because it was him. Because they literally, they'd had a girl in mind for the character of Sarah, and it hadn't worked out. I think she'd done a bit with John. But said no.
You weren't first choice for the role of Sarah Jane Smith, were you?
No, unless it was another name they got.
Because I think the original actress cast, I don't know who it was, but John Pertwee didn't really get on with the first actress that Barry Letts cast.
Do you know, they told me the name. Honest to God, I've forgotten it. I wish I hadn't. All I know is she was much bigger than me. Now with John's doctor is very much the gentleman doctor who puts the cloak around the little chick. It's very important you have a match. It's important in anything. You know, if you've got Juliet higher than Romeo, well, it can happen.
A contrast.
But you can't actually, it doesn't quite work for you. You've got to have, like Petruchio and Kate, you've got to physically match. You know, you've got to have that going for you. You've not got to, otherwise you've got to fight the audience to say, you've got to believe me, it can happen in real life, but, you know. So for the doctor and the assistant, I do think, in the days I was on it, you had to be smaller, you had to be physically smaller, slim. I really do. And this girl had evidently been very much larger. You know, you're looking at other attributes when they're running down the corridor, which you don't look at with me.
Your character,
in the way of the story.
Your character was a departure to the series because it was a very strong character.
Oh, I'm so glad you said, because really, after a while, we all follow a pattern.
Well, the first story you made, the Time Warriors.
It was very theatrical in that first one. After that, I sort of followed the line. You see, they were, well, maybe they did it on purpose. What they did was did the Time Warrior. And then we had a gap of about 3 months. And I would have loved to have gone on to the second one. It was like joining again. I didn't see them in the meantime. I didn't socialise with John in between Time Warrior and the next one because I didn't know him.
Well,
so I had all this gap.
All your predecessors were like local screen queens, where they were like clothes pegs.
But then I get told that I scream a lot in it.
Maybe, but I think your character was always trying to stand up for the Doctor.
Well, I always felt that I could actually justify every scream and every panic moment, because if anyone else was in that same position, I think they would do the same. There are certain moments where the words are just not enough. And they used to say, well, we'll have a scream here. I'll say, why? I said, no, don't need it here, you know, save it for the big one, you know, and it's right.
Well, you give them much leeway to actually form the character, or is it sort of...
It's terrified I was giving too much.
Really?
Well, I used to, all the other work I'd done before, even Z-Cars, I would open the script and it'd say, Susie Bloggs walks on, she is 20 years old, she's 5 foot, whatever, she doesn't get on well with her father, she's got a mole on her left cheek, you know, it used to give you all the omission. I opened the script and said, enter Sarah Jane. Nothing.
So
I
you had to
thought,
fall
God,
for yourself.
the most frightening thing for any actor, they actually want you to play yourself, in a way. That's what the camera does to you. Yes. Now, film actors in particular, they're wonderful at projecting a personality and playing that. And even, you know, wonderful film actors, they have a role and they play that. Now, I was not schooled in that, and I love the false noses. I got a lot of dupe roles, but I always considered myself a character actress, and that doesn't mean not playing your age or not something, but it means like an extra essence. I mean, Deirdre that I played in How's the World Treating You? She's very, very plain, and not that I think I'm wonderful, but I mean she's plain and she's gawky and she's not physically controlled. I like to cover mine. I hate things that are close to me. I love to put all the layers on and then find a way through that. So when I just saw that, I thought, oh my God, you know. And television is like having extra people staring at you because it's all these cameras.
Did you base the character on someone that you'd known, or did you just...
Yeah,
you did?
but I didn't realise it at the time. I had an 8-year-old cousin at the time. And some of the things that would happen to Sarah in the story, I thought, but that is stupid. And I thought, well, no, I'm being stupid. I can't see why. And there's a kind of... I never followed Doctor Who as a fan, but what helped me was I would watch one episode and I would want to know everything about it. That one episode for me, whether it was episode 2, 4 or 5, had to have a beginning, a middle and an end. I wanted a whole entity in that. So you have to make the whole, because someone might not see the whole story, so you want to be able to entertain for that whole episode. And it was like when children have this wonderful thing about, they go through an age, about 8 to 10, and they say, but that's not fair. And it's right, and life isn't fair. And I thought, well, if I can have Sarah's, that she will not conform, she will not compromise, that if she say, that's not fair, if I can keep that in my mind, and the Doctor, everyone has someone that they have as someone that they admire, or is a best friend. Now, you would do anything for that person.
Indeed, yeah.
You wouldn't mind if you look stupid because you were helping them.
Or break the law for them or whatever. Yes.
Whatever, you have your standards, and I always felt, well, because it is the same format, every story really, there's no new stories, you know, they're a pinch from something. I thought, well, if I can keep that, then that keeps maybe a certain freshness about Sarah, that I don't care how many times, you know, I'm shit at or shot at or whatever, you know, that's my goal. So, but Eric Seward said to me, we had one of his lunches and he said, you're never as good as you were in Time Warrior, that was your best one. I said, well, you write me into Time Warrior, and then maybe but they didn't. They put Sarah in very strongly. I think, personally, I see myself in it far too theatrically now, far too theatrically. But at the same time, she came in with a bang. And I think then after that she did conform a bit more to what, because there is a format and you can't really escape from it.
Well,
people have tried to and it hasn't worked.
Indeed. Clive James wrote in The Observer in 1975, there are 3 really strong female characters in the main TV series that he admired. And one was Nicola Paget, Upstairs, Downstairs. Yeah. Diana Rigg in The Avengers. And the third one was your character. And he said you were his favourite at that time, so it's quite a compliment, really.
Yes, it was. I never, you see, if you're in something like Doctor Who, I suppose really you get a publicist in that. And if I'd had a publicist at the time, I would have taken advantage of those things. But I just used to go to work and come back.
And Clive James is quite an acerbic critic. He doesn't give compliments lightly usually. So, I'd like to ask you about what it was like to work with John Pertwee, because sadly he's no longer with us anymore.
I still find it very strange to think that he's not, especially when you know.
He's a larger-than-life person, really.
I think all that. Well, no, I don't know the other doctors very well. I think Tom and John are the largest of ones. Patrick was very unassuming in a different way. Tom pretends he's unassuming.
But when you joined the series, were you aware that John Pertwee was going to leave?
Yeah, right from the
You
start.
were. So the stories that you were contracted to appear in, you knew there would be another actor at some stage.
Isn't that what I forgot about it? I mean, I had my work cut out at the beginning to get John over Katie. Because it had worked so well. And Katie had left. And here was this new girl. And I think it's very difficult when you carry a show. Oh, it was wonderful, the show. I wasn't carrying it. I used to see all these big speeches the doctor had to say, oh, God, I don't have to say that rubbish. You know. It was wonderful. I was left with all that, the feeling. I loved it. And there's a lot of weight on the main character to make the programme.
Indeed.
I didn't have that responsibility. And I felt very much when I went in it, that the unit was very much around John, the Courtney, Levine characters.
It's almost a rep company, really. John Pertwee, Nick Courtney yourself. I mean, you've acted together in a number of things. You did the radio series, didn't you?
That was a joy. That was an absolute joy to come back to. We didn't think, we thought, how will we sound? And I discovered I have a Sarah Jane voice. I actually have a Sarah Jane voice. And we started. John looked at me. It was lovely. But it took a long time to really... John is... both Tom and John are shy, actually.
But when Tom Baker started, you weren't the new girl any longer. He was the new actor coming into it. You must have felt you were part of the family then.
Yeah.
Wasn't it a lot easier with him coming in?
Yeah, it was very difficult because I was still working with John and I had to go down and film with Tom.
Really?
I felt neither
You were overlapping? I didn't realise that.
The first time, I think I'm right, Tom is very easy to like anyway, because he wants to be liked. He's lovely, it's very, very, very sweet. But the first time I met Tom was when we were filming The Spiders with John, when John, as the doctor, had to tootle off, and Tom came and lay down. And it wasn't the time to say, and it was very difficult. Whether Barry did this on purpose, I don't know. Tom, I since know Tom gets a very nervous stomach. And I noticed him was walking around like that when I think back. But John had to be the doctor. You see, John never really wanted to leave. There was also that laying on top. I was Sarah, being upset that the doctor she thought was dying, and also Liz that John was leaving. And there's Tom coming in. And what do you say? You've got a job to do and you just get on with it. And then I went down that night after filming. They took me down in a car. And then I filmed with Tom, came back, and then stayed with Tom to film. By that time, Tom had a new little crony. He had Ian Marter. So I thought, well, this is very nice. I'm going to be, lemon on this one. But you need to give people a lot of space when they're finding their characters. And I was very tired anyway. So Robot it started to be fun halfway through. Robot sort of came and went. We had lovely Jim Atchison doing the costumes on him. Jim had done the first one for mine. And Tom and Jim got on very well. So Tom sort of busied himself. Because if actually you try to make a relationship if you try and push something, you can never go back. It's like you put too much water in the cake's gone. It's flat.
Yes.
So I just thought, well, just take it easy and see how we go. And he's from Liverpool, I'm from Liverpool, and he made me laugh, and he likes making people laugh. And I'm very easy to get on with, and I think Tom is, although I don't know if people who worked with him since didn't think so, that you take as you find. And I had a wonderful, wonderful relationship with Tom.
Tom Baker always strikes me as someone who's slightly dangerous. He's you never really know what he's going to do. And that actually added to the character, I think, because it made him he could do anything.
Nothing is more satisfying, Hopkins is like that, nothing is more satisfying than not knowing what an actor is going to do yet. Someone said that my husband did Snake Dance, played Dugdale in Snake Dance. And he didn't know the director, and he didn't have to interview for it. And what's her name? She knows John Nathan Turner very well, I can't remember her name.
Fiona Collins.
Yes, Fiona. And he said, well, why? And she said, I always wanted to work with Brian Miller. She said, because I never know what he's going to do next. It's a bit like that at home, actually. I don't know what he's going to do next.
But being an actress, having someone like Tom Baker to act opposite, and he's perhaps throwing the occasional wrong line or something.
Wonderful.
Do you find that's easy to work with, though?
Yeah. But when, you see, this is what it was like in Rep. Doctor Who was the nearest I got to Rep again. When you get to know someone, you trust them. So, what's so wonderful for an actor, well, for anyone in a job, is to get past that stage where not expected or wrong, someone will turn on you, or you will not be supported, or you will look a fool. And the best thing you can really have as an actor is to go on and be prepared to make a fool of yourself, and out of that comes the best highs. Just to forget what you've rehearsed, forget everything, go on with an absolutely clear mind. I mean, before every play, I used to stand in the wings and think, I can't remember my first line, I can't. And my first line from the play before would come. And I used to have to forget about it and think, well, that's my cue, and I go on and I remember. I could do it now, I don't know. But it's a bit like that. You went in there knowing that you were with a company, you were with friends, and you were not frightened to make a fool of yourself. And there were things that we got wrong in the recording. And I would just put my head down, Tom would get my arm. It's a security that is so, you get it very rarely now because you work with someone. If you do something like the bill, you go in and you finish before lunch and you think, well, shall I stay for the cheese or not? You know.
So your adrenaline's flowing, you're doing the scene, and really that's adding to the performance.
Also, we used to do our Doctor Who 7:30 at night, which like a stage performance. We used to
It's
rehearse.
quite late, isn't it?
Yeah. You see, now most things are done rehearse record. You go in, you're all made up, you're all dressed up. You rehearse the first scene, you do it. I mean, it isn't on film, it's in the theatre. But our Doctor Who's, possibly because, I don't know why we did it that way. I don't know. But it was lovely, because that meant that I didn't have to pull anything out of the bag all day. I used to get half dressed in the cosy or not. We'd have a dress run. I'd sometimes go around with curlers in my hair. It was because the cameras hadn't seen it before. They were getting it right, so you didn't feel the pressure was on you. And then all of a sudden, you'd have your tea break, and then at 7:30 you went till 10.
You were on.
Yeah, you were on. And Barry was so good to me because what I hate having my photograph taken. I've never got over that. Don't mind if the camera's moving, but I hate having my photograph taken. And the BBC
Did very well earlier on.
library. Well, yeah. You learn something, but I wasn't having to play something really like that. I wasn't having to be a character. I hate having to pose. What they used to do, they used to come down to the BBC library, the BBC photograph men, they used to come down and they'd say, Liz, now where's Liz? And I used to try and hide, because they wanted publicity stills, you see. And they'd say, now, can you stand up? And you see, it's the antithesis of everything you want to do. You want to forget about posing and being. And they'd say, oh, can you open your eyes? Barry knew I hated it. He'd say, Liz is heading up. Yeah, Liz, you wanted over there. I said, too sharp. So I never used to get an awful lot of, I got some pictures, but I hated that. They used to come down about 7:10 till 25 past, and 12 past we had to go, and they used to throw me. They used to hate it. I could feel my teeth going on it. I would get, you know, if it had gone on, I would get really cross.
Really?
Oh yeah, I couldn't stand it. Because I didn't want to know about posing then. I had to just, you know, just troll around and then, you know, I pretend. And that took all the pretending away from me. I started not to believe it myself when I had to be in a set, that I was meant to come in as a character. And really, I was not meant to have been there before. Although I'd been there in rehearsal, but I found it very difficult to cope with that 20-minute photo call before. So when Barry was on it, he was so good. Well, Barry had been an actor, he used to go, I understand, that's all.
When you came to lead the series, I think about October 1976, you've been 3 years you've been on that series. Okay, you hadn't been doing it all the time, but you've been working perhaps for 6 months during that year, of each year on it. To actually leave a series like that for an actress, you had regular work. It must have been very difficult because you obviously got the security of the job. But obviously as an actress, the longer you stay in a job, the harder it is to move on to other things.
With what I got paid, there wasn't very much security.
Really?
It was very nice. It was terribly nice. Yeah, and it was regular money, it was all right. But I'd been working since I was 18, and I'd never been out of work. And I'd done a lot of theatre. I'd done this Doctor Who, and I say I really sort of retired after my daughter's gone. I think I'd really retired after Doctor Who. I'd had a bit enough by then.
But did they try and persuade you to stay? When you said, I want to leave, I want out, did they try and...
I think they were surprised I just wanted to go so quickly. But you see, I had a different producer then, I had Philip Hinchcliffe, who was terrified I was going to leave before I went. He said, you're not going to leave it. I said, no, I'm very happy. This is on Dartmoor he was talking to me. But I knew there'd come a time when Philip would really want me to go. Every producer, as they approved, has wanted to change Doctor Who in a certain way. I was not Philip's choice of a girl.
Put their own stamp on it. So.
Yeah, they need to for their ego, which is understandable. And I thought, it's going to come to a point, I don't know when, but in the future, maybe near, maybe not, when I'm going to be asked to, I just cannot handle that. I do not. This is my character. I love her dearly, and also, I always try to put myself in the audiences. Or maybe it's an inferiority complex. I don't know. I wanted to go while Sarah was winning, while she was on top of Brendan was tired of that, and I did that. And I'm not sorry at all.
Your last story, though, was a very strong story, and the way the character left, it was quite sad. I mean, obviously, it's always sad when the companion leaves, but it was quite poignant, I thought.
Good. Well, you see, I've
Are you
seen...
happy with that?
I don't think it's such a wonderful story or set. I'm a bit... I think we've had better. But I said I want to leave, and I'd seen Katie's leaving, and I said, I don't think it works when it's about the companion leaving, because I don't actually think Doctor Who is about the companion. It's something else totally different. I said, don't marry me off, don't kill me off, can I just go? Because I always do put myself, because I'm very much an voyeur. I watch and I know what I like to watch. And it's so nice to be taken this element of surprise again. I said, could we have a Doctor Who story? And then just at the end she said, so they very kindly they did that. I mean, that was very good of Philip when I come to think of it, you know. We used to complain quite a bit about some of the lines in Doctor Who, but when I look back, they were very accommodating.
Didn't Tom Baker and yourself rewrite the ending
I
though?
found it the other day.
Really?
I thought I'd given it to some American.
You changed some of the dialogue to make
it
it a bit
changed.
more...
It was terribly polite, and it was very... I mean, it doesn't... I think sometimes it's nice to play against what's there. Everyone knows they're sad at the party, so make the scene more abrasive.
Was Tom sad to see you leave? Because you were his companion from day one, so...
Christ, he said, they'll set me up with some girl called Jessamine or John Bullet. God! Yeah. Went to a party to leave and bought... Okay. We went to a party at the house he was then living at. And he pretended it wasn't a going away party for me. He trolled around. So I thought, right, I'll get you. And he had all these lights in the garden. I said, oh, Tom, isn't that lovely? Do you always have these lights? No, I bloody don't, she said. I put them there for you.
I think at this stage we'll open this up a little bit to people from the audience. Does anybody want to ask Miss Sladen a question? Gentleman over there.
Yeah, you've mentioned the costumes a few times. The main characters seem to get thrust into some most extraordinary costumes. Perhaps I can mention the words handy pandy.
I know, isn't it?
Did you enjoy things like that?
Oh, I loved it, yeah. I didn't want anyone to be able to walk in Marks and Spencer's and get a Sarah Jane outfit. I had lovely costume designers. And they'd come along and they'd say, well, it's got to be a bit warm because we're going down the cave. It's got to be, what kind of... I mean, my best were Barbie Lane and Jim Atchison, I think. I loved what they did.
Were you given any guidelines about what to wear? Were you just told to wear this?
Well,
costume?
yeah, I mean, sometimes colour because of CSO, and also, you know, you don't want to be, you've got to make it interesting to the eye. You don't, if the doctor, you try and stay a bit away from his colours, and you try and, I tried, when they say, oh, it's a bit cold, I say, well, I don't want to look as though I know where I'm going. I would rather be shivering on Dartmoor in a chiffon dress because we've landed in the wrong place. But actually, that's where I got hoisted with my own petard, because we all have to go out and buy these waterproofs because the costume was freezing. It was freezing, and I had this yellow thing, I looked like a bumblebee on Dartmoor, and I rehearsed in it, and they said, right, everyone take the waterproofs off. I said, I like this for an outfit. I said, isn't this fun? And I got this sort of look, well, we'll try it. And I said, it's really good, and it'll make things so much quicker because you won't have to dry my clothes out. And I had the orange boots on, they were mine. So I used it as a cosy, and I loved it. But I was very happy. I think they got a little bit more, not eccentric, but a little less near reality. But then I felt that Sarah would have done that. If you're going around with this guy in space for all this time with two hearts, you are not, you know, going to wear the 15 denier. You're going to, and I wanted it to, I could have got anything from that TARDIS. I could have got Queen Victoria's coronation. I could have got anything. You know, there was a load of scope there that still wasn't utilised. Well, I think we did very well for the amount of time we had to rehearse and get it in.
Any other questions?
What is the nicest thing you remember a fan saying about it? Do you have a particular favourite letter?
I used to get a lot more from younger children, all those youngsters. will you be? Dear Sarah, Doctor, oh yes, would you come to my house for tea? It's my birthday on such and such a date. I'm bringing the doctor if he's not too busy. P.S. You know, they were lovely, and I used to be floored by how much they knew about the program. You couldn't talk down to these children at all. And it was on the second one I did with Tyrannosaurus Rex. Now, how many fingers is he meant to have? Because we had the wrong amount, and it was a little 6-year-old who wrote in and said, "Excuse me,
I think it's 3 or 4.
Tyrannosaurus hasn't got 4, he's got 3 or whatever." You know, you could all, and you know, I have to say, it would drive me really, and Tom, they never talked down to the kids that came up to see them.
That's good to hear.
Oh no, I think the children's letters were the nicest, really. Yeah, yeah.
Any other questions? Check out that.
You talked about little children writing to the show. Just after you left, Jean Rook launched her infamous attack in the Daily Mail, talking about 2 mummies, giant mummies crashing through the woods. Did you ever feel during your time, particularly during the Hinchcliffe years, that maybe you were going just that bit far, or did you agree with Robert Holmes that you were appealing to intelligent 14-year-olds, and if little children were watching, so much the better?
Don't remember the Jean Rook. I remember Mary Whitehouse had a strong go at us during the Daleks one. But you see, when I was on it, Doctor Who was watched at a family time. It was watched straight after the
Grandstand.
the results, wasn't it, when all the dads and that, and you used to feel that if a child would be upset by some of the things that were happening, then it was the child. There was not, you can't, you know, speak for everybody, but they would know that there is good, there is evil, and good wins. Now, I know someone who did want it to be a bit more Sweeney blood was Dougie Camfield. I mean, he had his dugout and his woolly beef at the end of the garden for when they were going to bomb us. I don't know if I was invited, but Dougie was very much for, oh, bit of reality, team, A team. But it was kept within the bounds. Now, the one I remember was the one Maloney was doing when we got a lot of stick from White House, which was the Daleks one. And I remember they had so much trouble on the script. They didn't take it lightly at all. There was one point where Tom is holding 2 things, and if he puts them together, if I remember, the Daleks would never have been. Is that right?
Yeah,
something
that's right,
something
yes.
like that.
Do I have
Have I
the right
right?
Now,
to
yeah,
destroy
now
Daleks?
as it was written, it was written so that you just did what he had to do, and we ran off and got on with it. And Tom said, "Hey, hang on." God, he said, "This is bloody important." He
Yeah,
said,
very important.
"Wiping out, do I have the right?" And that was totally rethought. Whether it was rewritten, well, it must have been. It was totally rethought. And I thought the quality of responsibility that Hinchcliffe and Tom, I got very bored actually.
Well, the
Not
right-
true, but I used to say for what I could put in. Sometimes they didn't want to hear my input. It's true. It's true. You know, there is, you know, they used to ask the doctor's opinion. And I remember one director actually didn't ask me, and he moved me, and I thought, well, you're not doing that to me again, mate. So sometimes I would put my full pennies in, and sometimes I'd just do it, and they'd say, "Oh, that's a good idea." And I'd go, "Oh, oh." And there wasn't time to make a stand or mess about, but it was usually the authority thing was on Tom. But Tom was very good. He would say, "Look, don't make her do that, because if you make Sarah look stupid, you make me look stupid."
The writers must have been scared of Tom Baker changing all their lines all the time.
Well, yes,
Do a
sometimes.
bit of order.
But it was very thought out, and I thought Mary Whitehouse really maybe should have had bigger fish to fry. I thought it was I would defend Doctor Who on that one. I think you always knew that the blood was tomato sauce. I don't think you were ever in danger unless that was your personal makeup, and you cannot be responsible for everybody.
Well, John Nathan Turner was always glad when Mary Whitehouse complained about the series because he said it added about 2 million to the viewing figures, which...
Well, maybe he wasn't getting as big a viewing figures as we were.
No, at the time when you were on the series, the viewing figures were at its highest.
I didn't know
I mean,
how.
you were at the time, John Pertwee, Tom Baker, when that was watched by more people than another time in the series.
We were called into the office one day by Philip Hinchcliffe, who was doing dancing on the desk. I don't know what he said, 18 million, 20, whatever it was. We go, "Oh, very nice, very nice." I had no idea what it meant. I didn't know how really popular it was until I left and actually did a convention in America, or did the Blackpool thing. I had no, I mean, honestly, it was a lovely job and I adored it, and I never saw it in any way as a job where one was a personality.
Any other questions at all? Anybody?
When the Santaran stories, I was fascinated by the way the Santarans were. The late Kevin Lindsay, I believe, played them. What was he like in real life?
I knew Kevin beforehand very slightly because he'd worked at Glasgow Citizens with my husband when they were doing. I think Kevin played Macbeth. He did, little Kevin. He did. He played Macbeth. And I was going down on the train with Kevin to my very first filming with John. I don't remember where we were going to, and it was on Time Warrior. And I was saying to Kevin, God, I'm so tired. I'd met John once, which was quite something at the interview, actually. Barry had called him down to meet me when I didn't know that they were looking for a girl. I thought I was just going to be in the story.
Oh, I see, Sarah.
I didn't know they were looking for Sarah Jane. And I'd met John. I hadn't seen him since. And I knew that I knew from Jim Atchison, and I'd met some of the special effects guys. I knew they were a bit, didn't know this new girl how it was going to work, and Jim was going, it's fine, no, John will be fine. I thought, bloody hell, I wouldn't be saying that unless there was a bit of a problem. Because obviously this new girl was coming, and, John had worked very well with Katie. Katie left. And I was talking to Kevin about this, and he said, I can't say exactly what he said. He said, you just, get on with it, you have fun, don't sort of bother about anyone else in polite verbal terms. And I remember, it's another story, sorry Ben, for any of you perfectly thought that it's a good one. The first day of filming, Kevin was first shot, and he was coming out of this. I still don't know why Barry Letts had Alan, whoever directed it. He'd never directed a Doctor Who before, and there was I in need, of a bit of buoying and support. I don't know why he chose that. And he was very lugubrious and not at all as all the other Doctor Who, lots of fun directors were. So he had his pipe and his hand. He was more like a Maybury figure in the script. And Kevin was all in this wonderful silver suit, and he came out of his silver golf. And he put his hand on his hip and he said, I am a Santaran. Alan Langley. He said, no, that's someone else. Anyway, never mind. He went up to him and he said, actually, Kevin, he said, I think it's Santaran. He said, listen, I come from a fucking place. He said, I should know. And he just turned to me and said, that's it, fun. And I thought, God, yes, you can, you don't have to. And I had a wonderful first day. I was up till 3 in the bar that night with the special effects about everyone else had gone to bed. I had great fun, and Kevin and John got on very well. And then he came back for Toji, didn't he?
Yeah, Planet of the Spiders, yes.
Yeah. Oh, he was great fun, Kevin. Oh, he was also on Dartmoor.
Yes.
He played Style. Poor Kevin, he had a heart condition, and it really was very bad by then. And we were on OB, which meant that the cameras knew you were way away, and they're gleaming the filming down from the thing, so up and down. And Karen said, oh, it's a long climb. He said, I'll stay up here for lunch. I'll be all right. And someone said, yes. He said, if someone will bring my lunch to me on a tray, he said, it would do me good just to sit up here. I think he could take his helmet. I couldn't. He still had the potato head on, all glued in. Heat through there. And we came back after lunch one day. Oh, Kevin, how are you? You all right? Well, he said, I am. He said, but a woman and her dog got such a shock. Imagine someone walking a dog, coming round and seeing this guy sitting with a BBC tray and a polystyrene cup. I mean, can you? Wonderful. Oh, he was wonderful, Kevin. Very, very, actors are very kind,
It's good to hear. One more question, please. One more question, anybody? Well, one thing I'd like to ask you is, you were the first woman from the United Kingdom to go on an oral rig, I believe.
Yes, I think I was. Someone else has pinched that off me, but I was. No. When did I leave? It was my first job off.
It's
Did I
about
go in the
76,
theatre?
77, something like that.
Whichever.
This is on a TV series for BBC called
Merry-Go-Round, yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. It was a children's programme, and it was talking about Rex. And the guy who was diving for the Rex was called Rex. Oh, God.
Family Rex.
Yeah, I did. They said, Liz, did you realise? I said, yes, I realised. I thought we might have a bit of humour here. And some of it was voiceover, and because we did it in the Scilly Isles, and we did it up off Shep. Oh God, yes, off Shep. I'm not a good flyer. are not very wonderful, and I seem to get worse as I get older. So I actually went down to the Scilly Arts by train. Everyone else flew down. I think I'll go by train. So I did that, but we had to go from wherever in Scotland, the mainland, to the Shetland Isles. We had to go in Sikorsky in a chopper, and the weather was abysmal. It was awful. It was very windy, very bad, and everyone got on because there was sort of shots of me. That's right, on the chopper with the voiceover looking out of the window. We had one of these cameramen. You know, you try to, when people talk, they don't, when they think talk, they don't do all this. So we had to do a few takes. We thought I wasn't doing enough. And then we all sat back for the ride, and there was a curtain on the Sikorsky between the pilot and everyone else sitting. So it was just me and the director and the makeup and the script person. I saw the pilot go, knock, knock, on the thing. And then he stamped on the floor. Oh! I said, and I go, whoa! And he went right down near the seat. And I grabbed hold of the director, what's he, Mike, something like that. No, no, he said, it's all right. He said, no, I know what he's doing. I got a bit airy, I tell you. He said, we're just flying under the weather, and when it's better for the propeller. I said, that's all right then. So I was fine. So we did the film. And we were having a meal that night. The pilot came and I said, well, he said, that was a near one, wasn't it? So I said, what do you mean? What do you mean? And evidently what had happened, there were 3 tanks of fuel, but you can't get to one tank until one tank is used up. So there's a direct line. You can't jump evidently from 1 to 3, whatever. And they got rid of one tank, and there'd been something they couldn't get into. They couldn't get it through from 2.
There was no fuel.
Yeah. So we'd gone down near the water in case he had to land. Well, I had to be drugged to get on it to go. Terrible. But I'm sure, and they blame me for all the bad luck, because men they think it's bad luck to have a woman on an oil rig. That's what I was told. They were very nice, food was wonderful, but I was not really made. They wanted to get rid of me, and what happened was, when we landed on this little pad, I don't know how, but one of the propellers got chopped off. Chopped. I don't know how. So, there was a lot of this foaming going on, and what had to happen was, there was nowhere else they couldn't drop it, and there was nowhere else for them to land on the pad, a second chopper to come and get us off. So what had to happen was the pilot had only so much time when he could get the injured one off for the other one to land, to leave the part we needed to get off for that to come down. And this is supposed to be all my fault. This is supposed to be such bad luck. But I was very glad to sort of see the end of that one, wasn't too.
We're going to take a short break soon, but we're going to have a charity raffle. Would you like to tell us about what you'd like?
Oh, well, what I've bought. I have very little now, actually.
Well, we've got a few things.
Oh, what I have given away, I can't tell you. I've given away film, where I was nearly drowned. When I left in '76, I never saw all this coming. And I did walk away from it for a long time and move house, and an awful lot went out. So it's such a sad shame now.
We have a few things as well to raffle, don't we?
Do you? Well, my charity is the Meningitis Trust, and has been for a number of years now. So anything I can auction for them. What I do have that's quite new, fairly relevant, is I did some inserts for UK Gold when they were doing the Doctor Who thing. So I've got a sheet of that, which is how they wanted it written, and it's all crossed out, and I wrote it. So you can have that. And there's one that I did with Nick Courtney, so there's 2 of those. Now, I also have some photographs, some of my own photographs that I sell for myself once I've made up how much I've had to pay out for them. But most of my stuff is for the charity. There are 2 booklets. The guy called Ian Burgess, if ever you come across him, he's selling some things of mine now, basically because the people who are selling stuff in the market, I see nothing of. I'm having great problems with Cornerstone, MMG playing cards, Slow Dazzle. I see nothing of it, and it is really a fault of the BBC's as well, which I hope shortly will be remedied. But people are ripping the girls up on Doctor Who.
Yeah, it's not fair, is it?
So I brought my own booklet out, which I'm not selling them here today. But if anybody would like, it's all the work I've done, photos, then they can get in touch with Ian Burgess. But I've got 2 here today that I can raffle off from the charity.
So all the money's raised today will be going to this chosen charity, Meningitis Trust. So dig deep into your pockets. There'll be a £1 restricted 5 raffle tickets. So £1 will give you 5 chances to win something. And is the word very...
Not me. You don't have me. I know I haven't brought a lot.
Indeed, no.
It's all right.
And then afterwards, if you can sign some autographs
Yes,
for
that's
people here.
a pleasure, yes.
A short break now, and we'll see you in about 20 minutes or so.